All right, we are live, and the New York Mets are on the West Coast. When they're on the West Coast stuff happens, and we are currently dealing with that on a daily basis, on a morning basis after a long night. Everyone's dragging a little bit because the team is kind of just in neutral right now, and because we're up late. But it's all right, because one thing that will go through all those tough times is our friends at Coors Light. Those Blue Mountains are made to chill. We may not be having a lot of fun at Coors Field right now, but we always have fun with Coors Light. It is the perfect pairing with your summer playlist, and because music plus Coors Light equals chill amplified. What's a good song to kind of say the current state of the Mets right now? Last week it was New York after they beat the Yankees, whenever that was. I guess
slip sliding away.
Yeah, okay. I can do it. I can deal with that. I like that. So Coors Light is the only choice when you're ready to choose chill. When the mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. So drink your Coors Light at night like I do when you're watching your Mets, and get ready for the next day. Amplify your chill this summer with Coors Light. Choose chill, choose Coors Light. Go to CoorsLight.com/believe to see how Coors Light can amplify your summer. And be sure to keep an eye out on Coors Light's social handles all summer long for more exciting announcements. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And like I said, it's the West Coast malaise right now. A little bit of the dog days of August setting in as well. It's pal Clem here. We got the Meek Man, and as you heard during that ad read, Chris Clemmer has joined the pod today. KFC and Kyle are out today with all the happenings, and I have to travel tomorrow, so there's a lot of stuff going on. So Chris Clemmer of Chris Clemmer's Rat Race, welcome back to the pod. Things have changed since we saw you last, pal.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they have. We're having a competitive summer. I mean, I think the front office feels about this team the same way I think I do at this point, which is, we saw what they did at the deadline. They didn't trade any top 15 prospects. And this is a good team, okay team that's just not that good. They're probably, I think, if you put a gun to my head, they missed the playoffs by like 2 or 3 games. They go like 84-78. And that's just like, and then, we got competitive baseball until football starts. And that's just kind of, I think, the plan, the offseason that they had for the offseason all along anyway. It sucks. Look, we only get 80 years. You only get 80 of these seasons. And to kind of punt one kind of sucks, especially after last year. But I think it was all part of the plan. I hope and pray it was.
I like that kind of like mindset of it. You get 80 of these, punting one, you just cross it off. And unless you're punting it, but you're getting back a haul to then make the next,
Right.
couple more likely that could end in a World Series trophy. So the last time we had you on was, what was it? Was it end of May? Was it right during that, like, we were the darkest of days, basically?
Yeah. Things were bad.
You prophesized it. You said there's a chance they go out, because you looked ahead at the schedule. You said they could beat up on the bad teams, get into the mix, and then at the deadline, we're not sellers, but we're also not true buyers. Now, they did beat up on the bad teams, but they also beat up on the good teams. I mean, they became the best team in baseball for a minute there. None of us saw that big purple god take the mound and, change the entire juju of the franchise. And like you said, Phil's been saying it, we got a summer. We have a summer. That's all you can ask. Get me to football season. It would have been cool. I would love to know the multiverse where they trade Severino, they trade Manaea at the deadline, and we have another haul of prospects and we're moving forward. That's not the place we are. Stearns will figure it out. What were your thoughts on the deadline after they happened? What would you? I was saying rank it on the ball scale, 1 to 5.
It's hard to do. The big thing the deadline did for me was like almost like someone got a glass of cold water, threw it in my face. I'm like, wake up! Because until the deadline, I was tricking myself into thinking this team could do something. I'm like, all right, well, if we go and get Snell, I know Senga just got hurt. Senga getting hurt too is the other like splash.
Yes, very fair.
So, I'm like, all right, if we get Snell and maybe we make a move for this guy, or I was trying to do the machinations in my head, but I would say ball scale like a 3, I guess, because they probably did the right thing. They probably shouldn't have went and got the big player. We're kind of seeing it like this week. They just lost 3 out of 4 to the fucking Angels and Rockies. Like, you got, if you're a real team, you win those. I know it's on the road, but come on. And I don't know. I think this is just one of those middling years. And it's funny, as Mets fans, we don't usually get a ton of these. We're usually like horrible, or we're like interestingly competitive. We don't have a ton of like 84 win seasons in our since the the 80s, you had a bunch of them where like they were really good, but they're not quite good enough. This is more like, I don't know, kind of like almost like, remember in 2005, Peto's first year?
Yes.
We went like 83 and like 79, right? And it was like kind of like that, I feel like. I don't know.
And then they followed that up with the 06 spending spree,
Right.
and that's when we were, off and running, which we thought was going to be a run, and it kind of just ended in a whole lot of blue balls. So, yeah, I think I'm with you on all that. I think the biggest takeaway I had from the deadline, and I wonder if you feel the same, is I just feel even more at ease with David Stearns being the guy pulling the strings here for the foreseeable future. That plus, Harrison Bader just doing fucking big league things every night, and those kind of moves have really paid off for him.
Yeah, go through Stearns' moves actually, and they're pretty good. Like Manaya's been very good. Severino's been perfectly fine. Even guys like Tyrone Taylor have been decent surprises. The only miss really is like Adrian Hauser, and maybe some of the bullpen pieces haven't worked out. But like you go through the list of the guys that he's brought in, even like a Jose Iglesias, like got him from fucking off the dumpster, and he's been pretty good. Like he's done a pretty good job, and I think he did a pretty good job with the deadline with getting guys like Jesse Winker and Blackburn. Look, these are not guys that are very exciting. These are not guys that are very good baseball players. They're fine, but it's enough to maybe keep the team in the mix a little bit, maybe a week longer than maybe they should be. I think it's smart not to mortgage the future for this team. They're not that good, especially when Sega got hurt. And it's probably smart not to give up on him either. I kind of would have been a little maybe upset if they went and traded Minaya and traded Severino. Maybe that's the smarter thing to do. But as a fan who's kind of enjoying this season a little bit, and like, all right, maybe, with Alvarez playing like he is, and then Vientos kind of coming out of nowhere and becoming like a legitimate major league hitter, like he's really good. Look at his numbers. I know he got a late start and we don't appreciate as much as we should. Look at Vientos, just look at his stats this year. He's slugging like 540. He's having an amazing year. So you look at stuff like that, you're like, all right, there's some pieces here, some things to build around. All right, like you kind of see the foundation starting to grow, and I think that is credit to Stearns, and also credit to Uncle Stevie too. I was knocking Stevie a lot the last year and start this season, but I got to give him a little bit of credit here. Like I think he's doing a good job with Stearns. I'm much happier than I was 6 months ago.
That's a win, especially because again, 6 months ago was one of the lowest I can remember as Mets fans, because it was like you said, usually it's you're in it and we're going for it all, or it's like absolute disaster. It's like dating a crazy girl, from what I imagine. I've never dated a crazy girl, but I feel like the sex is either awesome, you're having the time of your life, or it burns when you pee and you have to go to the doctor and get some penicillin, right? And that has kind of been our lives as Mets fans. So I would kind of like some smoothness, and then we gradually get better, and then we just become contenders every year. Again, the Dodgers is the goal. Every single year, you're fucking 100 wins or in that range, going for the pennant. Phil, how are we feeling right now on this lovely 70-degree Wednesday morning that felt like fucking football weather, to be honest with you?
I mean, it wasn't raining outside.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
You turned into Darth Vader on us again. It was working before.
He sounds like one of those guys. Like when they smoke, it's like, I'm Big Phil. Like those guys that have that thing. Why do you sound like a robot?
It does one.
Oh yeah, you do your thing, Phil. We'll we did the guys. Listen to the listeners who are always asking or giving feedback like Phil was giving. We do the sound checks beforehand, and he was fine. He has a couple fine. And it just blew the fuck up in our face. That was wild. I apologize there. Let's see if we got we're gonna do it on the phone. This is the way Barstool works.
Yeah, no more Vadery because I am a little Vadery. For some reason, I guess my MacBook microphone is just glitched like that, where I sound like Darth Vader. But it was football rep weather. It was raining today. This road trip has sucked. Like, at least we got the win versus the Cardinals. But like as Clemmer said, it's like 3 out of 4 to the Angels and Rockies. Those are games like you kind of should win. And since the start of the second half, it's like the bats have kind of just like been inconsistent. Like we had that great inning versus Atlanta, like 8 runs in the third inning. The Yankees series, we blew them out that one game. Like we've had, and the Twins game, like we've had like big showings, but then we have nights like Sunday where it's like 2 runs versus the Angels, or Saturday it's only had 1 JD Martinez grand slam. It's like they're just not hitting runners in scoring position, and you kind of hope it's just a little bit of a slump because I think there's just 2 good hitters to just have us keep going on for.
Yeah, I saw one Shining Mets had a couple of stats he tweeted out last night. Francisco Alvarez and Brandon Nimmo have combined for 1 home run since July 11th. So that hurts because those are 2 guys, that you've grown to expect more from. And then the offensive numbers since the All-Star break and the WRC plus, I always think of Phil because Phil was, I think, the first one that brought this fucking stat to the pod. McNeil has 211, leads the team. Alonso 152. Then you got Lindor, Vientos, Tyrone Taylor, Jose Iglesias. So it's like we need some of those guys at the bottom, the Nimmos, the Alvarezes to step it up and get it going. Clemmer, by the way, Vientos, I don't remember. Me and Phil were, and pretty much the whole pod was so out on Vientos, especially after that Instagram controversy after the whole thing where it seemed like he was butthurt about Martinez getting called up. And I'll hand up, dead wrong. He shoved it in my face, even if this is his best season of his career. I think you need to get checked like this to humble you and be like, you think you know everything about baseball. Sometimes these prospects that are busts are not busts and they're fucking good. And if Vientos was doing this for another team after we traded him, we'd be losing our minds right now.
Oh yeah. The thing with Vientos that the hitting's been great. That hasn't surprised me as much as his defense.
Yeah.
So he last year and then early part of this year, at third base, he made Chris Morel look like Brooks Robinson. It was shit. It was you hit the ball near him and somehow it ended up in the outfield. It was crazy. He's gotten a lot better. That tells me that he's working hard. I like that. Look, is he an average defensive third baseman right now? No, but he's not that far below. I would say C minus D plus right now. You put a gun to my head on that. I think he's he was an F before. He's getting better, and it gives you some flexibility in the offseason. I'm really out on Brett Beatty. I just don't. I maybe he needs to change the scenery. I don't know. I know he's hitting okay. I'm good with Brett Beatty for forever. So what do you do with Vientos? Now you could put him at first base if Pete goes somewhere. JD's a free agent too. Maybe put him at DH. Probably the best spot for Vientos. But now, if we had to, we could keep him at third base if the right first baseman and DH are available, either a trade or free agency. So Vientos' defense has been, as much as his hitting's been awesome, that's kind of what the bill of goods we were sold. But now the defense has stepped up. I'm like, oh, wow, maybe this kid's going to keep getting better and better. When you see someone get better in some of those things that they're not naturally good at, that means they're willing to work on something that is hard, which a lot of us as adults don't like to do.
That's true.
Think of what we do every day. If something's hard, I just avoid it. I'm 44. I just don't do shit anymore. I'll hire someone to hang a picture in my house. I'm just not going to do. I don't know how to do it. I'm bad at it. I'm not going to do it. So if you're actually willing to work on those things that you're not good at, that tells me you're that's a good human quality.
So being able to work and try for something, strive for your goals. That's why we're at Barstool, because we don't want to work for that hard level. So we just ended up all here together. By the way, free plug, just because it changed my life, thumbtack.com. Have you ever gone to Thumbtack? It's I
haven't used that one.
If you need any kind of handyman, just to I need someone to hang my TVs. I'm not hanging these expensive TVs from the wall. It's going to shatter. I did that. I had people come to do some painting stuff. It is great. You get tons of reviews, tons of options. So unless there's a better option, preferably a sponsor, come sponsor the pod. I use Thumbtack for anyone that's like me and Clemmer that cannot fucking put a picture on the wall if that had fallen down. Go from there. But Phil, I can tell you something to say. I apologize.
I was gonna say, Vientos' defense has been better this year, but also on this road trip, you're starting to see old habits go. It's I think last night there was a ball that he just didn't even break on at all. I forgot it was a single. I forgot what inning it was. I think it was the inning where it started caving in on Severino to start off the inning.
Mm-hmm.
But you hope it's just a blip.
It's tough to play in Coors Field for 2 reasons. So obviously the altitude. It's I was just in Colorado last month. I don't know, the altitude sickness, I didn't get that. But if you're walking around, if you're going up flights of stairs, you feel if you go up 2 flights of stairs, it feels like you went up 4. It does, you do feel that. And in the outfield, this doesn't affect Vientos, but in the outfield, it's the biggest playing field in baseball because they made the field so big, so it's hard to hit home runs, right? So your outfielders, if you have bad range, get really exposed at Coors Field. And if you go there, you see the playing field does look huge. It is gigantic. So that big outfield can make, maybe average outfielders look really shitty.
Yeah, and it was a quick infield in Anaheim too. So maybe it is just bad timing. That's all.
Yeah. And like shit, everyone travels, right? When you travel, you're groggy, you feel like shit, and we're also not like putting in 9 innings of baseball in the sun and then doing all the other shit these guys do, and then you're going to the next town, going to the next town. That's part of why I think road trips teams struggle away from home, right? So you're doing that, you're getting the fast infield, all the shit you're dealing with in Colorado, which is a unique part. The pitchers are like, God damn it, I got to pitch in the thin air as well. So there's a lot of potential pitfalls that can come from it. So again, it just sucks that like. It felt like they were going to maybe steal that Angels game. You win 2 out of 3. You're like, all right, we win that series against the Angels. That Cardinals win felt like 2 wins just because it was a much needed breath of fresh air. And if they can, take this series against the Rockies, I think we'll come back and be like, man, that Cardinals series can balance the whole road trip win-loss record out. But, we still now it's kind of like the Doomsdayers are starting to creep back, or they're at least looking from behind their little shanties, their little walls. So we're feeling
I'll say this. I really like their chances tonight. Ryan Feltner is terrible at home. He's been terrible at home his whole career. He's really bad in Colorado. Even this year, he just is someone that just isn't good in those conditions. I think he'd be much. I think he actually. Phil and I have talked about Ryan Feltner before. We both like the pitcher a lot. We both think he has like decent stuff. But in that environment, it has not worked. If you give him a change of scenery, I bet Ryan Feltner would have maybe some nice years. But he's terrible there. So I kind of like Blackburn has never pitched in Colorado. So I don't know where we're going to get there. But I kind of like the Mets tonight, so I don't know. But then again, I wouldn't have guessed they would have lost 3 out of 4 to the Angels and Rockies.
I was like, you're talking about Doomsdayers coming out of their holes. Some of them are throwing out first pitches.
All right, so I guess we'll bring it up. The chat has been just, feasting on it from last night. For those that don't know, our very own Frank the Tank went out to Colorado. He's continuing his baseball stadiums tour, which I feel like he does the first pitch at every baseball stadium, which is pretty impressive. And Frank, Mr. diehard Mets fan, biggest Mets fan on the planet, yada, 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 walked to the mound. He would throw out the first pitch, had a Colorado Rockies jersey on, had the hat on too. Did he have the Rockies hat on too?
Dolphins hat.
Dolphins hat. Which is an amazing combo. The first time anyone's ever worn a Dolphins hat with a Rockies jersey in the history of humanity. Threw the first pitch to Dinger, I believe, the mascot's the Rockies mascot, with the Mets there on the field. So I guess we'll throw it to Clemmer because, I know Clemmer is like Frank's boy. You guys did your tour with the Marlins last year and all that kind of stuff. What is your take on, not Frank, in general, throwing out a first pitch at an opponent's ballpark when your team is there wearing the enemy's jersey? Would you ever do it, Chris Clemmer?
Yeah, so like Frank threw out a first pitch for the Brewers, like at the Brewers game, right? And he did it at the Guardians game, but they weren't playing the Mets, and he wore those jerseys. They're not rivals. I have no problem with that. Marty threw out a first pitch for the Cubs.
Yep.
They weren't playing the Yankees. In fact, they asked him initially to go against the Yankees, and Marty said no. Marty picked a different date. I have no problem if it's not like a rival. Like I would do the same thing. Absolutely, why not? That's a cool thing though. I think Frank likes throwing a first pitch maybe more than I do. Like I especially if you do it once, I feel like you kind of did it. Like I really don't get the appeal of continuing to do it. I don't really understand. I can see doing it once, cool bucket list, check it off. Like I imagine by the 3rd or 4th time, it's not that exciting. Maybe I'm wrong. To do it to wear a Rockies jersey when they're playing the Mets is insane. It's insane on 2 levels. A, he is a Mets fan,
allegedly.
Right? Yes. And so you don't want to do that. On top of it, the mountain of shit. Frank's been doing this longer than I have. The mountain of shit you're going to get by doing, the optics is so bad. And then on top of it, he does his recap at the end of the game yesterday. He's still wearing the fucking jersey. What are you doing? The game, the first pitch. All right, I guess you can make some sort of reasonable thing. All right, he wants to do this. All right, I guess you can somewhat coach it to making it make sense. 9 innings later, he's still wearing the fucking thing while he's watching his team play. That's insane.
Lose. Watching his team lose.
And then he gives a recap. He's like, well, we didn't have it tonight. And it's like, well, who, Frank? The Rockies or the Mets? Because you're wearing a Rockies jersey right now. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't know. I'm lost.
Phil, let me hear your 2 cents on all this, because you and Frank have your own special relationship.
Clemmer just kind of nailed it. It's common sense. It's your own team. And I think Joe DeMayo chimed in in the replies to Frank, it's like, what team are you mad at? The Mets for winning, the Mets for losing, and the Rockies for winning.
I will say this: if you had Frank the Tank, diehard Mets fan, right? He's a diehard Mets fan. He's doing this just because the Rockies are asking him to, they have him out there nice enough to let him throw the first pitch out. He'll, bend the knee for them. Now I ask you this: out of everyone on the internet, the media, anyone on the planet, who would you say is the Mets' most vocal, loudest critic? Frank. Yeah. Has Frank the Tank been anywhere near fair to the New York Mets franchise? Because when they're bad and when they do dumb shit, he is very, he'll kill them. But when they're good and win 100 games, was he fair during their 100-win season?
No. I'm a little kinder with this than you are. So he called when they went in their slide, a lot of us were like Pollyanna about it, and he wasn't, and that team did self-destruct.
Okay, but I'm talking April, May, June, July. Frank said they weren't gonna they were gonna come in last place in the NL East. We can't just say Frank called this and that. I'm just gonna say does Frank give them their credit when they do good? Once maybe a month, right?
No, not enough. Not enough. No, not as much as I'd like. But here's my thing. Imagine if Daniel Vogelbach or Darren Ruff or fucking Pete Alonso showed up to a Mets game wearing a Rockies hat, or even a team they weren't even playing. Imagine an Angels hat. He would lose his mind. And it would be like, oh, the Angels are, the power of the A, the Angels, even though they're not even playing the Angels. Any team at all. So the idea that he is judging these guys and not holding himself, you can't do that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Clem. I didn't mean to cut you. I was going to say, or if Pete Alonso came into the Barstool offices and was wearing a Deadspin hat, and we're like, the fuck, dude? Whose team are you on here right now?
Or even if he came in, like I said, wearing a Mariners hat, he'd be like, oh, what does this mean? What read between the lines? Much less when they're playing the team. I'm legit surprised he wore you don't have, and also look, I don't know. My favorite thing in the world is going to different baseball parks. I love it. I went to Colorado this year. I loved it. I had the time of my life. Went to 4 games. Incredible. That park's amazing. I loved it. I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't need to throw out the first pitch. I don't you can go to the park and enjoy it without having to throw out the first pitch. And and I know our job is content and stuff, but I don't know, by the 4th one, is it still, although then again, we're talking about it today. So I'm wrong. This did create a lot of content. So I don't know. Frank's been doing content a long, long time. He's certainly generated more views than I think the 3 of us combined times 100. So he knows what he's doing. But this time I was like, what are you doing?
His logic was, I need to throw out the first pitch in my ballpark towards you can go to a game and not throw out a first pitch like a normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him say that with Mincy. He said, well, it is a first pitch. And it's well, you've done this is your 5th first pitch. I don't know if it means the same, but hey, again, means different things to different people. If I was 10 years old, I might want to throw out a first pitch at every ballpark. I'm pretty good with one, or I could just do the Mets. That's the thing is I don't think he'll ever be invited to do the Mets, at least until some serious comeuppance are served. But that was my last rhetorical question. During that aforementioned 22 season where the Mets had their collapse and the Braves, played historically great, who was the one person the Atlanta Braves said inspired them every single night when they come back for a win? Who was that person?
Bullshit, though. That's them trolling. I don't know. Honestly, if the Braves need Frank to win, then they got bigger problems in that clubhouse. Get the fuck out of here. That's lame bullshit. That's trying to get people to shit on. That's reverse. Phil knows all about trolling. Phil knows that.
The king.
I mean, they won the division off a tiebreaker. That was just that bit of an edge.
Clem, am I crazy here with the first pitch? So you're an old guy like me. Mm-hmm. So we both went to Billy Joel concert together. This is how old me and you are. We're old guys. Doing it once, sure. If the whatever, in a random ballpark, that sounds like a fun thing. Hey, I'm doing it. This is fun. I wouldn't want to do it again. I don't want it because then you have the anxiety of having to throw it. Mm-hmm. What if it goes awry? I honestly after I did it once, I don't think I'd want to do it again. Unless it was a really interesting circumstance, but right? Am I crazy?
No, I'm 100% with you. If it was my team, if I could do it at City, I pretty much do whatever. But it's and then I guess a Wrigley, a Fenway would be kind of cool. But once
doing it once anywhere would be cool.
And then I'm done. Very much one and done.
No, I wouldn't want to do it again. Like,
And I don't get on the jerseys thing when it's not your team involved. Like I would never. The Braves could be like, we'll give you $1 million and an Atlanta Braves jersey to open up. Go fuck yourself. And if the Rockies told me you're wearing this you have to wear a Rockies jersey before the Mets play here, and the Mets are watching you throw the first pitch after you yell at them every single game, I would tell the Colorado fucking Rockies, go fuck yourself. You're the Colorado Rockies. You're the Colorado Rockies. That's who we're talking about. A team with purple in their fucking like logo. I don't give a fuck about the Colorado Rockies. Coors Light, great beer. Coors Field, don't really care about the Colorado Rockies. It's that simple. So, Frank, Frank's gonna have its fans no matter what. This is like it's like when a certain presidential candidate will say something crazy. The people who love him are just gonna love him more. The people who hate him are just gonna hate him more. And it's just the sun's gonna rise, the sun's gonna set, right? I think that's kind of how
I think this might stick with him though, because the optics are so bad. Like a picture's worth 1,000 words, and like a tweet about like, oh, you know, mad at some player, like mad at Vientos, whatever, and then Vientos becomes good. Like that's whatever. Yeah, we all do that. We're fans. The optics of him wearing that jersey though, like the Mets in the background that's tough.
That's tough. Again, I took a lot of heat because I was watching House of the Dragon as I watched the Mets game at the same time to then live stream a work thing with thousands of people because it was immediately after House of the Dragons. I took shit. I watched like 2 Edwin Diaz outs during it. I took shit for that. He left the Miami Dolphins playoff game early and is now throwing out the first pitch with the opposing team's jersey on. It's just tough looks for our guy, Frank. But again, it's content. It gets the people talking. He's provocative, right? So at the same point, like he has the key to all this shit.
He's always like one step ahead. Is that what it is?
Yeah, maybe. Exactly.
Could be.
Hey, he's promoting Ruff and Rowdy. Again, buyrnr.com. Check out Ruff and Rowdy on Friday. Mm-hmm. His boy, Mikey Betts, has a loser leaves town match, which I have to say, if Mikey loses, he has to leave town, right? Because me and Frank had a loser leaves town match. I said I won't mention the bet anymore. But like, those I hold very dear. If someone says you're done working, you're done on Twitter, you're done whatever it is, you're done. You can't be like, well, the referee had a quick 10 count. You can't say that. It's over. Darren Ruff was a bad deadline trade. It has to be one or the other. Correct, Clemmer?
Yeah, I love Mikey. I don't want him
to lose either.
I don't think he will. I think he's gonna. These April brothers, they stink. And Mikey, I thought Mikey was too good, like too nice of a guy. I'm like, oh, I don't know if he has that edge because Jenks has an edge to him. So like if you talk to Jenks for a while, you're like, oh, this guy's got a screw loose. He's got a little edge to him. Mikey just seemed too sweet, and then he showed me this security video of him beating the shit out of some guy that was like stalking a family member of his, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm very confident in Mikey's gonna take care of business on Friday, but I'm very excited to watch. That's gonna be.
Frank has 2 low-key bruisers, on his side, and 2 sweethearts when they're not in fights, right? Like Jenks I said he's basically Nice Pool from Deadpool. He's like namaste, and Mikey Betts, absolute sweetheart as well. So I'm very excited for that. buyrnr.com. Really looking forward to that. And hey, if you're not into the boxing, you don't have to be in the boxing. You just bet some baseball. You can go to our friends at DraftKings because you know what summer means to me? Beaches, barbecues, and baseball. So after you check out today's pitching matchups, head over to DraftKings Sportsbook to get in on all of today's action. From the first pitch on the East until the final out West, DraftKings has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odd boosts, and so much more. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your bet. It's that simple. And if you are new to DraftKings, you got to check this out. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BELIEVE. That's code BELIEVE for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. You can get it. You can kind of, wet the beak. So you build up a little bank into football season, which obviously is the bread and butter for a lot of gamblers out there. I cannot wait for football season to get here. Clemmer, trust the data. Has the trust the data pick? Are you working on that one for today?
Yeah, I have it out already. I'll give it to you right now, boys.
I thought it was going to be the Mets based on the way you were talking about the Rockies pitcher.
That was almost my backup. But the one I'm going with is Giants having the lead after 5 innings. Blake Snell on the mound today. Snell's been lights out. He has an ERA of 55 over his last 5 starts. The opposing pitcher is Jake Irvin. He's got a 5 ERA since July 1st. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is the Nationals' bats have been pretty hot, but I think I'm going to go with Blake Snell there. You only have to have the lead after 5 innings, so that's minus 110.
Interesting. I forgot about those 5-inning bets. Those things are kind of fun if you don't
They're
want
fun, yeah.
I mean, Mets fans which baseball is a 5-inning sport. My life would be a lot easier.
I get exercise to you guys real quick. So we all kind of know what the teams are right now, right? Like the rosters are pretty set, trade deadline. So like I always like to look now and be like, all right, where do we stack up? So like we're a game and a half out, right? So here are the wild card teams. I want you to tell me if the Mets are better or worse than these teams, as currently situated. San Diego Padres, they're top of the wild card. Are they better or worse than us, talent wise? Which roster?
I'm yielding to Phil on all this. I was going to say, I go Juju wise. Like they have Profar, who seems to be their Juju guy right now, which like I feel like that gives them the edge on us. But Phil, I yield to you.
I think we're a better team than the Padres. Like I don't like their pitching. Their lineup's a little inconsistent, but their bullpen, they trade for Tanner Scott and Brian Hung at the deadlines. Like their bullpen can like shut down games.
They got Adam.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong. Like, isn't the Padres' schedule like starting to get a bit hard soon? Like,
yeah, it's not as easy as some other ones for sure, especially like teams in the Central. But I mean, they do have Dylan Cease. The hitting is kind of starting to come around. They got Tatis. They have some pieces. All right, so we can even call that a push.
Is Tatis back?
Yeah.
Is Tatis back?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Arizona Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks are better.
Yeah, I agree.
They're one of the best lineups in baseball, and if they get their pitching in order, it's like they have Gallen, they got Fat. Eduardo Rodriguez makes his debut today. Mm-hmm. If he's serviceable, like the Diamondbacks are, I think, are the first wild card team.
I agree.
I will always say like, oh, the Diamondbacks, they're phonies just because they're like forever a new team in my mind, and they won a World Series with that new teamness, right? But I am a dumb idiot old fan who barely pays attention, so I'll yield to you guys. Yeah,
I like the Diamondbacks a lot. And if Corbin Carroll can start hitting, then it's like show's over. But Phil and I are lockstep with that rotation. That rotation of Gallen, especially being back, look how well they've played since he's come off the IL. And you put that rotation that stacks up against really, I think, almost any team in this kind of wild card hunt, especially that Strider's hurt and everything. So
Ketel Marte is legitimate like NL MVP candidate too.
He's one of the best players in baseball. No one's talking about. No one's World Series this year. Okay, Braves.
The Braves are a better team. Like at the same time, it's like they're also not the Braves anymore.
I don't know if they are. I mean, so Schwellenbach's looked really good. They did just get Max Fried back. Max Fried got shelled, but I don't know. It's his first start back.
Like the Braves kind of like showed me something. Like they only split versus the Marlins at home, and like they lost 7-0 to the Marlins with Max Fried on the mound. I think they've gone
start back.
First, it's still Max Fried on the mound versus the Miami Marlins. Like the Braves aren't us versus the Marlins. When the Braves see the Marlins, they crush them. That's a little scary for me with the Braves. And like they're not scoring versus the bad pitchers anymore. It doesn't make sense.
If the Braves had to switch like jerseys and everything with the Diamondbacks, I would be like, oh, we are so much better than the Braves.
Yeah.
But it's something about the boogeyman. It's the Michael Myers mask. It's like I see that and I go back to, again, me and you, Clemmer, in the 90s, and I'm watching, not only Andrew Jones and Chipper Jones, but Brian Jordan ripping my guts out. The big three in the rotation.
Oh, so even then, you still had to deal with Millwood. You still had to deal with Steve Avery if you're old enough. Like, it was just, that was not fun. All right, so then it's us, and then it's the Cardinals. I think we're better than the Cardinals.
Cardinals are awful. They're gonna win like 70-something games. I think they're gonna really crater.
I don't think that's crazy. Goldsmith's having a horrible year. Arenado's not playing very well either, and that rotation is a bunch of old guys.
They're just not good. I mean, they should have sold at a deadline. Like that's actual malpractice what they did.
And the last team, the Pirates.
The Pirates going into the deadline, I was like, oh wow, maybe they get Jazz Chisholm, maybe they get some more bats. But then their two big deadline acquisitions were Brian De La Cruz, who doesn't hit versus anyone except the Mets, and IKF, who's a good player, but it's like they needed more. And like, they have Paul Skeens pitching once every 5 days, but they can lose a Paul Skeens start like they did on Sunday. Mm-hmm. Like their rotation's still good, but it's like their lineup is pedestrian.
Terrible. No, it's even worse than that. The lineup's just bad. They don't have it. Yeah. Last time I checked was under 300. Like, they just can't hit. So, based on that, it almost seems like there's a path. Like we have some differing opinions on the Braves. We all agree the Diamondbacks are that.
Yeah, we're not catching the Diamondbacks.
And we have some differing opinions on the Padres. But we're basically saying, hey, look, it's not improbable that we could make a run. So sometimes those exercises kind of give me a little bit of confidence. Like, all right, maybe we're not as bad as we've looked the last week. Like maybe we do stack up okay enough to maybe stick in. No?
I like that. Do you do this every like season around now when like they're in the race and it's just like kind of because we're a game and a half out of the wild card right now after the last few days. So it's like, but again, I'm not just thinking the next few days. I'm thinking for the rest of this run here, that chunk of 5 teams, there's 3 spots for them. Why not us, right?
Also, we just have so many head-to-head matches versus these teams too. It's like 4 versus the Padres, 3 versus Arizona, 3 versus Atlanta at the end of the year. So it's like those games are going to matter so much more than like what obviously like you want to win the Rockies games now, but it's like those games are going to matter. Like that's basically the season.
Our fucking schedule is bananas too because we have the Rockies, then Seattle, then Oakland and Miami, but then Baltimore, San Diego, Arizona, and then the White Sox at the end. So it's like you're facing the worst of the worst to the best of the best, back to the worst, as well as teams that you're going head to head with for the wild card. So that is a run right there. Holy
watch that West Coast trip at the end of the month. Watch that they go like was a 5-2 versus the D-backs and Padres. Then just lose 2 out of 3 to the White Sox somehow.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if I've been watching baseball a long time. I got all these gray hairs. I don't remember too many times where a team has had 9 home games in a month. The Mets only have 9 home games the entire month of August, and it's all in one stretch. It's a 9-game homestand. That's the schedule is bizarre. To have that few of home games in a single month for one major league team is, unless like the circus is in town or some weird shit, you don't usually see that. Very strange.
And they don't have an off day when they go to San Diego. They play a 110 game versus Baltimore and then get right on the plane to go to San Diego to play the next night.
You're absolutely right, Phil. That's bizarre. And that was in the schedule. It has nothing to do with rain delays. That was built into the schedule that we have to do a cross-country trip without a day off, which is unusual. I will say they do have a day off between San Diego and Arizona after that series. But that doesn't help you that series against the Padres, which, like Phil said, is critical. Those are 4 huge games.
That had to be due to that stupid-ass London series where they had to bake in all those extra days to get to London. So, God, that is crazy, though, Phil. Good call. Good call on that. While we're going kind of around the league, I wanted to get your take on this, Clemmer. I've had this on the rundown for like a month or 2, and we just didn't have time. The Mets, obviously, all the crazy stuff had gone on, so we were able to talk about the actual team here. But this is something that I've kind of kept an eye on because I had both players in fantasy from their first year on in a keeper league, and it's been an interesting like roller coaster for both players. But as of now, is it fair to say you could kind of say 2024, and probably I don't know if it's ever going to shift. When it's all said and done, we're going to look back, and Bryce Harper's career will be looked at as the greater career than Mike Trout when it's all said and done.
Well, it's that old argument, right? Like peak versus longevity. Like, who's a better pitcher? Sandy Koufax or trying to get a guy like Tom Seaver. Like, Sandy Koufax's peak was unquestionably better than Seaver. But Seaver probably had the better career. Like, if you had to pick one who was like a more, Koufax won more rings, sure, but but the body of work for Seaver was so good for so long, it's hard to just throw that away. Trout's peak is one of the greatest peaks of all time. So it's hard for me to and you know what the problem too is for Trout? Aaron Judge right now is out peaking him. Like Aaron Judge's peak now is better than anything maybe we've seen in our lifetime or ever. Because he's doing like Babe Ruth 1920 numbers, and Babe Ruth didn't play against black people. So it's like now we're in uncharted waters here. And you got Bond stuff with the steroids and stuff. Like you kind of take away mitigating factors like segregation or PEDs. Judge is doing something that's never been done before these last 3 years. And that's going to almost overshadow Trout's great peak in a way because we're, almost kind of gets forgotten about. Better career. Whose career would I rather have? Who would I rather be? I'd probably rather be Bryce Harper. I bet it's less mentally draining than being a Mike Trout. Mm-hmm. But if I had to draft one guy and both guys were available, I think I'd still draft Trout because I'm going to go with that peak and be like, all right, let's go and do that. Tough question, though. I don't know.
Okay, Phil, what's your take on Trout versus Harper?
Trout's the better player. Like, he's had the better career. But like Bryce Harper's gonna be remembered more. He's more marketable. He's in the playoffs almost every year. Like you see his face like in every big promo. It's like Mike Trout's played one playoff series his entire career. That hurts you in terms of, and that hurts you in terms of like marketability, like being recognized. Like Mike Trout could walk down the street of New York, no one could recognize him.
That's no. I think I'll throw a flag. No, that's not. I mean, no, I don't know about that. No, that's not. Well, I will agree. Harper would get recognized more.
That's what I mean.
Absolutely, I'm not arguing that. But also, Trout will get recognized. But Trout hasn't been playing baseball. He's missed 60% of the games since 2021.
They may not know what he looks like anymore.
It's tough. It's very sad. The Mike Trout thing brings to mind, like, I think of like Ken Griffey Jr., but at least Jr. had 600 home runs. But some of these guys, when their careers go off the tracks this badly, and Trout also has back issues, and the injuries this year, sadly, had nothing to do with the back. It was so that's even like there's talk that like Trout's back could go the way of like David Wright's or like Don Mattingly's, where it's like that's going to end your career. There's some of those scares last year. So like the Trout is going to be one of the great like what ifs or one of the great like sad stories I think in baseball history of few guys had the talent that he had, but he might not even get 500 home runs or 2,500 hits. He's going to fall very short of a lot of guys that are not in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like,
yes, and he should be.
Yeah,
but his totals are not going to stack up.
Trout feels like the guy I tell my grandkids about. I'm like, you guys, like, you had to be there kind of a thing. It's like this guy I've never seen. It was Mickey. What I was told Mickey Mantle is what I saw Mike Trout do. And then even Trout, like, the speed kind of went away, or at least like the steals and some of the defense and whatever. And again, I think some of that was physical, right? And then the back, the knees. Now it's the knee that's killing him. And everyone forgets, like, we've talked about it on the show, I think in like, I don't know if it was 2019, but at one point it was like Bryce Harper, he came out of he delivered like right off the bat, and then he kind of had his own issues, right? And then he leaves the Nationals, they win the World Series without him. But then, he turns it around, wins MVP, takes led the Phillies, has been a great postseason player. I think if the Phillies win the World Series, that'll be a big exclamation point. But I do think you guys are right. I think like if you had to choose one player and it's like all outside influences, including injuries, taken off, I'd feel better about Trout becoming the greater player. If Harper was signed to a contract with Artie Moreno for his entire career, he'd probably be fucked, right? It's like Tungsten Armo Doyle. Look what Shohei Ohtani was. They had Ohtani and Trout and couldn't do a goddamn thing. It's almost impressive when you think about it.
It's incredible
how bad they were.
It's incredible that you have two of the best players like that of that generation, and you had trouble getting a winning record. Yeah, the Trout thing also, one thing that really concerns me is I was looking at stats, and he's batting .220 this year. And yeah, he still has decent power numbers, but we're starting to see even like before he would just get hurt. He'd still have a great year, but he would just get hurt. The rate stats always like lined up, but he would just play less games. Now the rate stats aren't lining up. Like he batted .263 last year. Like you just see like you're seeing him fall off now, and now he's hurt and isn't as good. And he signed for what, Phil? 6 more years? Right about that?
6 more years, yeah.
6 more years at 37 a pop. And honestly, I have major concerns if he's going to even be able to fulfill the end of that contract. At 38, is he going to be able to go out there and play baseball at all? He can't really play now.
Who's the Angels GM these days?
It's Perry Manayasin.
If old Perry called you, Clemmer, and said, "Hey, David Stearns, Clemmer, in this scenario, I'll give you Mike Trout. Just take the salary and have Uncle Stevie pay it off." Would you take that risk? And again, maybe the Mets are a bad example because I feel like Uncle Stevie's more likely to pay the tax that was literally named for him than any other owner. But at this point, is that just a sunk cost because you're just going to end up with him disappearing come May, June, July?
I wouldn't take that deal for a couple of reasons. A, if we have that $37 million to spend, I'd rather spend it in other areas. And then B, the last thing I want to do is have my team build a roster around the idea that Mike Trout's going to be there when you can't rely on him. Like the most, they say it all the time in business, like the most important ability is availability. And like, it's going to be impossible for me to construct my team over the next 6 years if I expect him to be there. But then am I also signing a guy to back him up? But then what if he does play? What happens to that backup guy? Like the roster gets in flux, and I think it can really destroy things. So as crazy as it is to say, I would want the Mets to stay away from Mike Trout. Which
Phil, are you the same way? You agree?
I'm the same way. It's just too much risk. Like we alluded to earlier, it's like there's a chance he could retire in the next 2 or 3 years. Like his injuries have been that bad.
I'm with you guys 100% of the way. There's also the part of me that is like, I don't want to see him go to the Phillies, because if he does stay healthy and does Mike Trout stuff, because he's the Birds fan, and it's just all that you have to deal with, all the Philly shit that comes out of it, and putting him and Harper together could be like Bill Walton going to the '86 Celtics and staying healthy for that
Right.
1 year and making magic. So I see you guys are saying I'm with you. I really love the guy. He's probably up there with maybe 5 players that it's like LeBron, I'd say, for basketball. Football, I guess. I mean, Brady was such a special quarterback because all he did was win. But even I guess athletic freaks might not be Brady, but he's just one of those 5 guys you tell your grandkids about one day. I stood firm for him against the Miguel Cabrera Triple Crown argument too, just because I thought those were 3 stat categories where I thought Trout was more important to the Angels that year. So I was also on the front line of those wars back in the day. But I just love the dude personally. I think it's hard not to.
If I was going to compare him to an NFL guy, I think Barry Sanders would be. It's a little different where Sanders never got hurt, but just he left. But Sanders never won dick. But yet it's hard. Phil obviously was way too young to have seen Barry Sanders, but it's watching Barry Sanders play was awesome. It was incredible because at any play you could break out and do something amazing you've never seen before. And that's what, even though the Lions sucked, it was kind of fun to watch him. And it's kind of that way. Also, maybe if younger people like Calvin Johnson was kind of like that too. At any point in time, he could do something incredible and be like, "Oh shit, this is wild." Now Trout's a better player than Barry Sanders was, because of running backs. It's a different sport. It's hard to, but Trout is like that, where it's almost you had to be there, like you said, Clem. You had to be there for this little blip. One other thing about Trout, one last thing, I get nervous about his recovery issues. So Rocco Baldelli, going way back, when he was a player, bigger retire was he had an ailment where he couldn't recover. He would get hurt, and then it took him so long to get to recover from these injuries that it was like a disease that he just he doesn't recover as fast as a normal person does. And I feel it's kind of the case with Trout. Some of these injuries aren't that big of a deal. And the back thing is the back thing, but the meniscus thing, to re-injure it, that never happens. Now he's doing things that are weird and things that you can see his body is just completely broken down. And he obviously was always kind of susceptible to these injuries, or once the ball got rolling, then it became super susceptible to them. And now, I really worry about every injury he gets. He's not out for a couple weeks. Now every injury he has, he's out for months.
Yep. And so I wonder if down the road, 10, 20 years from now, with more advances in the medical field, if they'll be able to figure out something a nuclear level, right? Atomic level, where it's the body is like this, it's going to have issues. And again, it's with a car, if the alignment's a little off, everything can just go to shit. And it seems like that's what's happened to Trout here. And it's not the same. It's not an apples to apples comparison, but almost the way I talk about Trout is the way I'll talk about Jacob deGrom. It's I saw Pedro. I don't know if I ever saw a better pitcher than Jacob deGrom at his absolute peak, but it was 12 starts. It's unfair because Pedro did it for the whole season when everyone was juiced out of their mind. But he get hurt. It's a little thing became another little thing. And it was we were always waiting for it to break. It broke in Texas, luckily, instead of New York, right? But it was one of those things. It was almost
kind of broke in New York too.
That's true. It's shattered in Texas, though.
I would say honestly they almost are like cousins or even siblings in baseball history. I think baseball history is going to look back at Trout here and deGrom here, because the body of work. Trout just had more healthy seasons. But I wonder if they will go down 40 years from now when we're talking to Meek Phil's grandkids or Meek Phil's, and we're one of those two will be synonymous, will be linked together because they are very similar in abilities, skill level, talent, holy shit moments, and then this amazing fall off, and then this sadness that they just couldn't stay healthy. That's a great comp, actually. I'm curious to see how history remembers both those guys.
Yeah, it's almost like a DiMaggio, Ted Williams, right? And it's like Ted was on all those dog Boston clubs. And I mean, there's so much other shit that goes on with them. But it's like you do if Trout could somehow survive for a long enough for Bryce's career, they get into Cooperstown the same year would be like an awesome, just like holy shit moment for those of us that watched their whole careers.
Won't happen.
Won't
0%.
happen.
Bryce Harper. I'll say this. Here's a prediction for you. Bryce Harper will still be playing when Mike Trout's on a Hall of Fame ballot.
I like that take right there. That's a good take by Clem. Also, DeGrom, Hall of Fame? You know what? It's too late in the show for me to be opening up this can. We'll save that one. I'm going to book that for next time you're on the show, Clemmer. But I want to get your take on this one before we go because we just talked so much greatness there. We're going to go complete 180, and I just want to know, just give me your take. Because we talked about this in previous episodes when you weren't on. Do you want to see the White Sox break the 1962 Mets record for worst team ever?
Of course I do. I love baseball history. I want to see everything, man. Like I said, you only get 80 years in this planet. You only get 80 years in this rock. I want to see weird shit. And I want to see this happen. My whole entire life, Clem, your whole life, Phil, your whole life, we've been told 40 and 120, 40 and 120, 40 and 120, especially as Mets fans. I want to see that broken. And I don't think it does anything at all to like ruin the fun of the Mets because the expansion year is fun. But I love to see history get broken. I love to see records get broken because that's kind of why records exist, to get broken. To be able to live long enough to see them happen, especially ones that have kind of been ingrained in us, without a doubt, I am rooting against them. They are 28 and 88. I'm keeping track. I am watching this religiously. I am all in on the White Sox failure. I kind of wanted the A's to do it last year. They fell short. And I wanted the Tigers. You got remember the Tigers in 03?
Oh, yeah.
19 games. They had to win 5 of their last 6 to avoid 120. I want to see the White Sox do it. Yes, all in.
I love it. I love it. So, again, thanks, Clemmer, for coming on. One of my favorite people to not just talk baseball with, but just shoot the shit with whenever Barstool the ballpark, which is coming up August 17th. Love just, shooting the shit with you whenever I'm in the office as well. Just a good talk, as they say. So what do we have coming up, Clemmer? We just had the rat race, so everyone check that out.
Yes.
You have a couple projects that I think you're waiting to get greenlit that I think are going to be tremendous if they happen. You've talked to me about a few things.
A couple weird things I'm working on. Yeah, one of the things I'm meeting on this week. Yeah, a couple weird things I want to do in the next month or two that is strange, bizarre stuff. That's what I like. That's my favorite thing to do is the weird stuff. And we get to do it here. That's the best.
The weird corner at Barstool is wide open and always has a light on, so you can do whatever you want. I mean, Meek just jumped in a tub of bananas, so
which is my favorite thing we've done here this month. It's Jackie's brain is so weird. That I love. That is weird. That is the stuff that I love. It's a favorite. I love that more than talking sports that we do here, where we just do just completely what the fuck? Yeah. I love that.
I was in the office that day and they said, "Oh, we just got 100 pounds of bananas," and I'm like, I don't even know what this means, guys. I'm out of the loop, and that's why I love working here. Phil, you got anything to add? Are you good, my friend? We got to get you guys off for Pick Central. I know soon.
I'm good. I just hope he win tonight. I hope my voice is just. I'm still recovering from a signature a week ago. So go Mets.
Go Mets, and I'm going to take out my we're going to get weird here as well. I told my daughter, Sienna, I let her little friend here have the last word. Her friend, Sadie, the Strawberry Dragon. Gotta believe.
Gotta believe.
Gotta believe.